Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome. Today is Monday. It is March 13th, 2023. My name's Jeremy, and this is my first cup. Hope you are all well this morning. Happy Monday. Who's here? Good morning, Frank. Good morning, Dennis. Good morning, Rebecca. Good morning to all the rest of you, whether you're watching live later or listening. Thanks for coming by. Glad you're here. Got to see this in person this weekend. That was fun. Got to see a bunch of people, a bunch of friends this weekend. It was great. I had a really good weekend. Saturday, Tosh Horner was teaching at Andrew's event in Keene, New Hampshire, the same that we hold free training day Northeast at. And there were a bunch of people that showed up, and it was wonderful. Got to work with Craig, and we're swinging sticks, and we're swinging machetes, and we're moving knives around. It was a great time. Had a lot of fun doing that. And Mark is here. Good morning, Mark. Mark says, had a great time. Had a great Saturday with Tom and Jerry, Spartacus and Dennis, and Abby and Deborah and Harley. And I'm assuming Craig and I are Tom and Jerry. Spartacus is Andrew. It's good times. Stacy says, Jerry. Oh, nope. Captain Craigie too. So I don't know which one I am out of that group, but doesn't really matter. It was a fun time. Had a lot of fun. Came home Saturday, and I want to know what you all did. So make sure you tell me. Put it in the chat. Here, let me move my headphones because I want to cuddle up with the blanket because my body thinks it's an hour earlier than it is. My body thinks it's 5:30. Everybody else? Daylight savings, not your favorite thing. Came home, hit the grocery store, went to the gym for a little bit, and did a whole bunch of meal prepping for the week. My fridge is now full of chicken, just pretty much full of cooked chicken. I'm just laughing at the chat. You guys are nuts. I love it. And then yesterday, slept without an alarm, which meant I woke up late, almost 8 o'clock, according to the new time, which is quite a bit later than I normally sleep. And just kind of hung out, relaxed. Went to my improv class, which was great. It was week 2, so I got everybody to come out, almost everybody to come out and have a drink after, which was nice. Got to know some of the people. It's a good group of people. And then went to the gym again, came back, and watched the season finale of The Last of Us, which was very well done. They made some interesting choices. It was the shortest episode of the season, which I found really interesting. Can't remember a time I've seen a show that does the season finale as the shortest, but that's what they did. I gotta put this out from Jenny. It's funny. I got re-sick. LOL. I thought my cold was going away, but it's snot. But Frank says, am I the only one that was sent through a loop with daylight savings time? Nope. No, we need to get rid of it. We need to just pick a time and just do it. It's utterly ridiculous. No. Nope. Or anything. I'm now old enough and intelligent enough to recognize that it's all daylight savings time is a bunch of BS. So I lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah. So improv was fun. We took a few more steps forward. And something interesting that I noticed, and I was having a conversation during it's a 2-hour class. We have a short break in the middle. I was talking to a couple of the other students, and everybody knows I do martial arts. And we were having a conversation about just kind of generally improv, and somehow we ended up, I was making the observation that the things that I teach, the slow work that I teach, is really physical improv. And the same things that this class is getting people to stop doing, like overthinking, etc., are the same things that my work gets people to do. So that was really kind of a cool observation. By the way, I'm wearing my new hoodie that Carl designed. This is the sunflower design. I showed you guys this last week, but I finally washed it. Still has a little bit of the prep smell. If you ever order anything from us and it smells a little bit like vinegar, yeah, that's part of the ink process. And so I hung it out after, and it's a lot better, but probably one more wash and that'll go away. My tea is good this morning. And so what's today? Today we've got an episode of Martial Arts Radio. We're going to talk about that in a moment. And I received some interesting feedback, and I'm gonna write this person back. I know this person listens to the show. I don't know how often they watch the show, but I received some interesting feedback about one of the episodes last week, Seafood Red Cropper. And I'm not going to get very specific, other than they said, I didn't really like this episode, and they mentioned some things why. But here's one of the best parts about what we do. We have never done an episode, never done an interview episode where I get universally negative feedback. In fact, we've done multiple episodes where I thought they were terrible, and I was fearful putting them out. And I'll get people write to me and say, "Oh my, that was one of my favorite episodes." Wait, really? I thought it was awful. I mean, I don't say that, but there are episodes where I'm nervous that the guest is going to get flack, not because of what they say, but more that they're boring or whatever. And somebody always messages me and say, "I really like this episode." Great. And so the reason I bring that up is you may find episodes that you love. You may find episodes that you don't. From what I understand, most people who check out the show will at least give most episodes a try. And if they find it's not somebody they want to hear from, or they don't like the way the person talks, they stop. That's perfectly fine. I would love we get to a point where everybody loves every episode. But if everybody loves every episode, we're probably not bringing in enough variety. And I like bringing in the variety. So I don't think it's a bad thing. Right? We're going to keep mixing it up. I think that's important. Today, let's see, how many calls? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. I have 6 calls today. 4 clients, 1 team member who may or may not be in the chat, and 1, I should get all the details and be able to really talk about what I'm going to be doing, but call about the self-defense seminar that I will be teaching at the University of Vermont next month. Tea is good. I'm watching over here on Twitch. So, yeah, it's going to be a good day. Oh, and barring something cataclysmic, I will have my first CrossFit class this evening in, let's see, over 2 years. Going back to one of the gyms that I used to go to. Looking forward to it. I'm nervous. That's okay. It's good to do things that make us nervous, right? Kind of stretch a little bit, because that's where I'm starting to recognize that edge where there's a little bit of discomfort. That's the place where we need to spend more time. That's where growth is. That's where skill development is. That's where life is. If we're always comfortable, we're not growing. We're not developing new skills. That little bit of nervousness, that little bit of anxiety, that's a wonderful thing. In fact, it's probably hardwired into us as not a red light, but a yellow light. Like, be careful out here. But what do most of us do when we see a yellow light when we're driving? We speed up. Oh, I got to get there before I can't. None of us stop at a stoplight when it's green, but there are a lot of people who live their lives that way. Frank says, how is the improv class going? It's fun. It's a good time. Good morning, Andrew. I'm finding that there are plenty of things I can work on. We did, I don't think that's going to translate too well to verbal. So a lot of my skills translate very well. For example, we did an exercise yesterday where we were just given a random thing that we had to talk about. I was like, oh, I have had no preparation for this, the last 8 years. And it was easy. What I had to talk about my love of clay, like sculpting clay. So I talked about clay. And there were 5 of us standing up, and the teacher would just say, okay, you talk, now you talk, now you and you talk, now you 3 talk, and you get louder, you get quieter. And other than I'm not used to talking while other people are talking, that was a little difficult. It wasn't difficult to talk. So that part has been easy. What has been a little more difficult for me is I'm trying to find the balance between being confident, being assertive in this group of people who prior to last week, I did not know any of them, and not being too much so, right? Everybody's got to have time, and we're not, some of these games that we're playing, we're not, it's not like a stopwatch that everybody gets the exact same experience. So I'm trying to find balance between those two things. And there are a few of us that are definitely more confident than others, that are stepping into the center more often. And I'm one of them. And not only am I working on being comfortable with that, but not artificially suppressing that, because I'm probably setting an example for some of the others who are not. So, right. It's a whole mixed bag. And of course, it's a one-to-one correlation there with martial arts training. In any given school, even regardless of rank, there are people who are more comfortable, more confident, people who are going to volunteer. They're going to raise their hand. They want more, right? They want to be more. They want to do more. And so they'll step up. And it says, I just had a flashback to childhood and the smell of clay. How about the way the brain triggers those things? Smell is the sense most directly tied to memory. It's pretty interesting. I'm not quite sure the evolutionary advantage of that, but it is a acknowledged fact. Andrew says, but did you have to relate the items to martial arts? We did not. Good morning, Ray. Ray says, the stages of making a group: forming, storming, norming. I am unfamiliar with this 3-part statement. Would love to learn more. And then I think lastly, the piece that I'll throw out, the adventure on TikTok with this video that continues to spread. have had a number of people pop up in the last few days since I saw you. And they'll start by just lashing out. One person even said, you're ruining martial arts. And they said some other things that were just factually incorrect. And I said, how am I ruining martial arts? And what I'm finding is if I don't meet their disrespectful tone with more disrespect, about half of them calm down, maybe even more than half. They lash out and you're just like, hey, why don't you just have a conversation? And so I'm finding myself, I write them out, and then before I post them, I go through and it's like, okay, how can I make this as respectful as possible? You know, kind of a Mr. Miyagi thing there, right? Like people yelling at you and you're just like, I don't need to be yelled at. But I'm also going to take every opportunity I have to try to share my message that there's more than one way. All right. Now, Frank, who is in the chat, did send stuff over for us to talk about because he always does, because he's such a wonderful person. Thank you for all of your work on the show, Frank. So we're going to switch gears into that now. Actually, no, we're going to talk about the episode of Martial Arts Radio. I'm going to double check who today's episode is. And then I will tell you a little bit about it. Oh, Kyoshi Eric Menard, a man that I've gotten to know a little bit. We've got a whole bunch of people in common. And someone who has been incredibly passionate about training and teaching pretty much his whole life. And I think as you listen to this, some of you are really going to relate to this story, even if you're not a school owner. I think you're going to relate to points where he talks about his training and the school that he's at being, I don't think he uses this word, but basically home. That was what came across for me when I talked to him, that this is home. So, yeah. Check it out. Audio, video, all the places. Feedback, right? All right, so now we will switch over to these things. And in addition to thanking Frank, I want to thank Josh for our theme song. I want to thank Denise for our audio and CJ for our countdown video. And today we're continuing our look at Women's History Month. We've got a few quotes here from Ann Landers. Don't give up. Keep going. There is always a chance that you stumble onto something terrific. I have never heard of anyone stumbling over anything while he was sitting down. Yeah. I think many of us get this idea of what an outcome should be. And we're so focused on what it should look like, we forget what it should feel like, right? And if it doesn't look like what we expected, or it doesn't look like it's going to look like, or we reach a place where we don't believe it could look like, we stop. What if I set out to, well, let's take a purely hypothetical. Let's say I started martial arts training and I start training at a school because I have this vision of becoming a black belt, or yeah, we'll just go with that because it's such a common goal. This vision of, good morning, Brian. this vision of becoming a black belt. And in my mind, the vision is karate. And there's a karate school nearby, and it's a great karate school. And I'm doing karate, and I get to like blue belt, green belt, brown belt, whatever. And the instructor moves, and the school shuts down. And I've spent that whole time visualizing my goal was going to be when black belt was going to come wearing a karate gi. But what if there's a great taekwondo school right near me that lines up with the same principles that are important to me? But I stopped training entirely because now I can't be a karate black belt. I didn't set out to be a karate black belt. I set out to be a black belt, and I could continue furthering that goal. This happens to so many of us. And yeah, it happens all the time in a martial arts context, but it happens everywhere else too. Just keep going. Any progress is progress. Sometimes progress means not regression. Sometimes it means just holding in place, not letting your skills deteriorate, not getting worse. That's okay. We rarely have all the steps in the path planned out, or I should say predicted accurately. We can plan them, but it's rare they're all going to line up the way we want them to. But we can have goals. We can see what those goals look like. We can move towards them. Are we ever going to achieve them exactly as they are? Probably not. But that doesn't mean that we're not getting the heart of what we want. Just keep going. Next. The real question is, why are millions of people so unhappy, so bored, so unfulfilled that they are willing to drink, snort, inject, or inhale any substance that might blot out reality and give them a bit of temporary relief? I believe one of the most hardwired elements of humanity is overcoming challenge. That the things that keep us satisfied are ultimately rooted to progress. Why are so many people all in on video games? It's overcoming challenge. Why do so many people? It's everything. Why do we train? We're overcoming challenge. It wasn't that long ago that life for humanity was all challenge. But for a lot of us, life has become pretty simple, pretty easy, and thus boring. Where's the challenge? We need challenge. If there isn't something in your life that challenges you, you're probably unhappy. Now, you could work really hard to be happy with where you're at, and that's a perfectly fine response. But I think it's fighting against our genetic programming. Instead, find something that challenges you. Get better at it. What's the quote? We've talked about it a few times. Don't pray for an easy life. Pray for the skill to handle a difficult one. Life will always have challenge. Embrace it. And if there isn't enough of it, find a constructive challenge. Preaching to the choir here. This is what martial arts is for most of us. I love the challenge of new techniques and new concepts. That was my favorite part about Saturday. I was working on things that I knew a little bit, but not nearly enough that it wasn't challenging. Made my brain think. I love that. And those of you, if you take a step back, if you look at the things that I've done in the history of Whistlekick, most of them require me developing new skill sets. Like a few years ago, I was like, I'm going to write a novel. I'd never written a novel. Way back, I'm going to have a podcast. Well, I'm going to host an event. All these things that I'd never done before. Are they challenging? Yeah. Are they continually challenging? Yeah, because I keep raising the bar. That's the goal. That's what martial arts is. And that's what we can all do in our lives. And I would suggest we should. And our last quote today from Ann Landers. Don't indulge in gossip. People who throw mud balls always manage to end up getting a little on themselves. I probably don't need to unpack this one for you. Most of you are great people. The rest of you, I'm not sure. There's no one in this chat that I know of to not be a great person. But we all have a tendency towards gossip. That too is hardwired. Juicy information about private subjects. Yeah, it's something that goes back to tribal days. And if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. But there's a difference between doing that and doing it in a way that makes someone look bad. Information is information. There are very few things that I keep private, and I don't say anything about someone unless they were in the room. And I've actually prefaced conversations with people. I would say this if they were right here, even if it's critical. Just because I'm critical of someone doesn't mean I don't love them dearly. I may disagree with something that they're doing. Right? But when we're throwing mud balls, which I think is a wonderful metaphor, it kind of suggests that it's unnecessary, that it's harsh. There's no need to be harsh. The world's harsh enough. Even if everyone was completely kind, there is enough harshness in the world that we don't need to add to it. And it doesn't change anything else to be harsh to someone else. It doesn't make my life better. It might make my life better relatively, but what a waste. Why would I want to make my life look better by making someone else's worse? It's just such a disgusting approach to life. I refuse to engage in it. And I hope you all do too. I hope you all have a great day. Go check out that episode with Eric Menard. Let me know what you think. He's a name that some of you know. I'm going to suspect most of you don't. He promises he's coming to Free Training Day this year. That's what I'm hearing. So we'll see. He's local. He lives in New England. And I hope your day is good. I hope people don't throw mud balls at you. I hope you recognize the value and the challenge that life brings your way today. Professionally, personally, training-wise. Celebrate the fact that your life is stable enough that you can embrace these challenges. That the challenges you're facing are not, I'm cold, I have no food, and there's a lion trying to eat me. And the only reason I assume those things are because watching, listening to this. And if you had no food and you were freezing cold and a lion was trying to eat you, hopefully it's not all three of those things. Man, that'd be awful. you'd probably be doing something else with your time other than watching or listening to me. Be thankful for that. Okay. I hope to see you tomorrow. I hope you have a wonderful day. And I hope you'll consider supporting us. Patreon, First Cup 15, 15% off something at whistlekick.com. Or what else? Oh, the family page. Whistlekick.com/family. I appreciate you all. Thanks for being here. And I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.